Now here's perhaps the most unlikely TV star of all. Now who would think that a small, chubby, balding, middle-aged and raspy-voiced son of a North Beach Sicilian immigrant and an obscure produce wholesaler would become a nationwide TV star? His area of expertise was vegetables, and he had a unique way of pronouncing the word.
You know, folks, I like to see eat more of the green leafy vegetables.
And yet Joe Carcione, that vigorous dynamo of vegetables, became the Pied Piper of produce.
After a number of years on KCBS Radio and KRON-TV, Joe came to Channel 7 in 1978 and became the top banana in produce, talking to 14 million people on 133 stations throughout the country. Unfortunately, Joe died last August of cancer, and we all miss him.
But we will always think of him, and certainly with no disrespect, as residing in a kind of celestial produce market in the sky.
Very good. Joe Carcione, your greengrocer, with your tip for the day.
Now this may be the most outrageous of our TV personalities. From his regal throne room in the Channel 7 Tenderloin studios, Count Marco imperiously dispensed boudoir advice based on his singular decree: it is every woman's unquestioned purpose and duty to serve the men in her life.
His reign at Channel 7 ended 25 years ago, and today, Count Marco holds court in Palm Springs, where he is retired, and he's sometimes known as Mark Spinelli.
And for contrast, how about Cottonseed Clark? Cottonseed was a genuine cowboy who did well enough on local TV to drive a very large Cadillac sporting a pair of steer horns on the hood.
Now, it's safe to say that there's no act on today's television that can be compared to Cottonseed's. He recited poetry of his own composition, poetry from the heart.
It was amazing how simple and easy it looked. But what was in my mind was when I, like Paul, could have a beard and shave just all the time. Well,
incidentally, that film was shot by Werner Rule, who was an engineer here in 1949. Cottonseed moseyed over to other broadcasting pastures and ended up as a successful owner of a country and western radio station in San Jose.
And when he died in his home in Belmont, that was about 10 years ago, the obituaries listed him as Clark Flock. That was his real name. But to early TV fans, he'll always be Cottonseed Clark, the cowboy poet.
In the 1950s, up to 50 million people sat enthralled each Sunday night as a newspaper columnist trooped out a string of fire eaters, jugglers, suppose you weren't in on that act, ventriloquists, and some of the biggest stars of the day.
A really big show.
For 23 years, Ed Sullivan was the most popular and the most powerful host on television. His show mixed sword swallowers with Elvis, roller skating chimpanzees with Albert Schweitzer, and the Beatles with dancing bears.
Hey, how about this for an idea? We'll do the same thing on a local level. Now we'll get the star local newspaper columnist, Herb Cain, and we'll call the show Baghdad by the Bay. That's what someone came up with in 1961.
And Herb Cain's co-host in Baghdad by the Bay, San Francisco's premier newscaster and commentator, William Winter.
William Winter!
We worked together years ago. Remember? We worked together in radio years ago.
That's right. Bill was just reminding me, he and I worked together in radio, and I hate to use the date, 1945 and 46, right, Bill? Right. But the thing that I always remember about you, even all the times we worked together, everybody was looking around for your unique way to identify themselves, and you had the most unique sign-on in the world. Give us your sign-on.
Right. Well, back in 1935, when I started in radio, everybody had a unique sign-on, as you'd say, ladies and gentlemen, hello, or good evening, everyone. So I adopted the salutation, ladies and gentlemen, how do you do? And I used to say that every single day on radio.
Remember that?
In a previous incarnation, and then went on to television. And every year I said, ladies and gentlemen, how do you do? Until one day in 1951, you and I were covering the Japanese peace treaty, you remember?
That's right,
here in San Francisco. And we were busy all day long broadcasting every speech and recording. And by the time I got onto the television studio that evening, I was dog-tired. And I couldn't think. And I got on the air, and for the first time in all these many years, I said, ladies and gentlemen, how do you know?
There he is, William Winter, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Bill, very much.
As our party continues, we're going to recall a dramatic moment from a prize-winning drama, and then we'll have some crazy times from some wacky...
40th anniversary from all of us at 30-something.
like back when TV was new here in San Francisco? Well, for Mary Martin, as you can see here, she was the star of one of the biggest hit musicals of all time, South Pacific, but it would be another 6 years before she could fly onto television as Peter Pan.
Yeah, and the Volkswagen Beetle had just been introduced to the United States, but that entire year of 1949, only 2 of them were sold.
Only 2?
Just 2. Yes. Television had its first successful sitcom, a transplant from radio called The Goldbergs.
TV drama was just getting underway, and through the years it would move in waves of popularity, from cops to comedy, from classics to kids to cowboys. And each generation developed its own favorite cast of fictional characters, and then often followed them faithfully for many seasons.
And not all the drama has come from the networks. The dramatized series Channel 7 was especially proud of was called The American West.
It was actor Rip Torn and a memorable performance as John Steinbeck that brought the broadcasting industry's most prestigious award to Channel 7 and the American West series. It was an episode called Steinbeck Country, and it won the Peabody Award in 1985.
And then the whistle screams again, and the dripping, smelly, tired wops and Chinamen and Polacks, men and women, they straggle out and droop their ways up the hill into town. Cannery Row becomes itself again, quiet, magical.
Sue, yeah, it was. It was a wonderful thing. Dramatic programs always seem to walk away with the major awards and the attention of critics. I don't recall a quiz show that's been showered with critical acclaim.
Yeah, it's true, but, you know,
or us either.
Yeah, the very beginnings of TV, right up until today, the game shows really have been amongst television's most popular programs.
Yeah.
Have to be.
Say the secret word and divide $100.
Yes, the $64,000 question.
Queen for a day.
Your host and master of anniversaries, Al Himbo! I'm here to play the anniversary game of the Couriers.
3, 2, 1, California Countdown. And here's your host, Jim Lange.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Hal, and thank you, gang. Hi, gang.
Hi, Jim.
The word is chimble. What does that mean, Merle Zellerberg?
Chimble is to nibble or gnaw.
What do you say, Paul Spiegel?
Chimble is a term of endearment for the girlfriend of a chimney sweep.
Franken Wagnall says chimble means to gnaw or nibble.
That's why we put Jim on first. And here they are, the panelists from Oh My Word, Miller Zellerback, John Jew, Lockhart, Scott Beat.
There you go. Right in here. Okay. Well, Scott, normally we start ladies first, but you're much closer to Diane. Let's start with you, Scott.
Hi.
That show that you were doing, I remember seeing it.
Oh, My Word?
Yes, a lot of strange words always came up in that
No,
particular show.
one of my favorites was omphaloscepsis.
Oh, it's one of my favorites, too.
Yeah. You know what it means?
I have not the vaguest idea.
Well, it means the contemplation of one's navel.
Well, they're all doing that in the audience right now as we speak. They're all looking, oh, I got one right there.
Oh,
June,
yeah.
I understand that you were sort of reprimanded for being too racy
well,
on the program.
Well, you see, I got here San Francisco, and I'm up here, and of course it's all terribly sophisticated.
Sure.
And so even though being Lassie's mother, and at that time I was on Lost in Space while we were doing the show, you know, I like to get down and dirty, so I would always try to be as just close to the edge of just being off color.
Racy.
But not really.
You went over the edge all the time.
Oh, I did.
And here's a witness to it.
Anyway, so I got little notices, please. Dave Sachs used to come to me, who was our wonderful producer and creator and director and everything else of the show. And he said, you know, just tone it down a little bit, June. So there it was. I was a bit too racy. Even then.
Even then. Well, you look gorgeous.